Get the fireworks. So congratulations, Florida. She get the fireworks. Yeah. All right, I'm going to take off this jacket because I know I'm going to get warm in here. So how are you guys doing?
Great.
Why are you here?
Because you're here.
Oh, ding, right there. Give that young man a high five right there. Right there. Cool. All right. No, why are you here? Why did you show up?
Because you were begging.
We agreed you weren't going to say anything, Jeff.
Because you're here.
That is it. I am not begging you anymore. I'm only going to beg Colby.
And that'll get a listing.
Does it? Well, we're going to talk about getting a listing today, but we're not begging. We're not going to use that process. So, no, just tell me, why are you here? Why did you show
We want
up?
to be inspired. We want to learn.
Okay, thank you. It's inspired and learned. She said it for you. Yeah, what?
Personal development.
Okay, cool. All right. So congratulations on being here, because hopefully that's going to be experience. You're going to learn something, you're going to be inspired, and you're going to grow personally and hopefully professionally. So let me ask you a question. Is it an easy market right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is? Okay, cool. So tell me why. Why is it an easy market?
Well, because there's so much in the media, all the hype of how great the market is.
Yep.
And that motivates people.
Okay, cool. I like it. Good answer. Good.
Not many.
Anybody want to say something to the contrary?
Yeah.
Okay, what? Is it a great market, bad market? or-
It's challenging market.
It's a challenging market, okay?
It's completely the extreme opposite of 2009 and
Yep.
10. Interesting though.
How many were in the market in 2009 and 10? How many weren't? Raise your hands if you weren't. So almost half of the people in the room weren't. So describe what 9
Well, I was
and 10.
going to say back in 2007, in July, right before the market crashed, the average medium sales price in Salt Lake County was $290.
Okay.
And the average sales price now is $296,
Yeah.
$297.
We're
so
higher.
we're not that much higher than what we were
Right.
back in 2006 or 2007.
Yep. Come on in, gentlemen. Yeah. Okay. Good. I like it. So it gives us some perspective. Well, anybody else? Good market, bad market, okay? How many of you, let's give maybe some personal perspective, how many of you are making more so far this year than you did last year at this time? Okay, so a few of you. How many of you are about on par as to where you were last year? Okay, so about the same number. How many of you are making less than you were last year at this time? Okay, just one of you were willing to admit that. Thank you. There are some liars in the room. That's okay. There are always liars. There are many liars, though. You know that? There are not many liars in the world. The challenge is they move around a lot. So, no, it is a challenging market from the standpoint that inventories are what?
Low.
They're lower. They're low. In fact, are they lower or higher now than they were a year ago at this time?
Inventory's lower.
Okay, is that true? Because I'm getting two people saying lower and then a lot of hesitation. Do you know? Do we have more inventory or less inventory this
Less
year?
inventory.
Are you certain?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Dean?
There's
Well,
5
Salt
offers
Lake,
for each
according to
home.
the stats we just got from Gretchen, is
Yes.
2,100 available in Salt Lake.
Yep.
We used to be
In
6,000.
St. George is 2,700, which is amazing.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, more in St.
15
George, a much
days.
smaller market.
Should move to
15
St.
days on
George.
the market.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
Oh, that's so funny.
later. Yeah, that's so funny. You laugh at other people's misfortune and challenges. It wasn't misfortune, though, was it? It was a good
Oh,
experience.
that's a great lesson.
But no, it is. Inventories are lower, and what are you in the business of doing? Helping people what? Buy and sell what? So if you're in the business of helping people buy and sell homes, it is a more challenging market because there's not as much what? Inventory, and you're in the business of helping people buy that inventory. So, look, in a market like this, we have a choice. We can choose to either wait for the market to do what?
Get better.
Improve, exactly, get better, or what?
We can improve it.
Or oh, who said that? Okay, yes, or we can improve it, okay? We can improve it. My question for you is, what mindset do you have at this point? Because really, if you think about it, your success in this business has nothing to do with the marketplace, but has everything to, we talked about it this morning in terms of what? Greg, you remember? What was the primary word that we talked about a lot?
Belief.
Yes. See, your experience so far this year, and I will tell you for the rest of your life in this business, and quite frankly, in your life, will depend upon your beliefs. And if the belief is, it was said in the back here, that I have the opportunity to improve it, don't you think you might get some better outcomes than you're currently getting? If you, see, the issue here is this. I say that there are two types of people. There are people who are in control, and then those who are, say it, Lindsay, out of control. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about this, and they chuckled when I said there are two types of people, those who are in control and those who are out of control. And when I said out of control, they laughed. Why do you think they laughed? Because they identified with that, like, oh crap, you just called me out. And I was calling them out, because the challenge is this. Say that, what? What'd you say?
What are you saying?
I didn't say, I didn't use your name, but now that you've admitted it, you know, the first step to recovery is admission, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, tell her congratulations, she's well on her way to recovery. No, it was not her, it was not her, it was not her. But it's in control or out of control, and those who will blame the market and say, well, inventories are low, and so therefore I've got a lot of problems in my business is down, are simply saying that they don't have any responsibility. It's not their what? What do we say? It's not my
Problem.
It's not my fault. Usually, if it's not my fault, no, it's your problem. It's your, because if you don't have enough money in the bank account, you don't have enough money to pay the bills, you don't have enough money to achieve the things that you want financially. No, that's your problem. You're living it. But is it your fault? Right? And what I would say is what? It's not an issue of fault. It's an issue of what? What's the word?
Mindset.
If you can read my
What is that?
writing, what is that?
Responsibility.
Yeah, it's that is an O. Responsibility. It's responsibility. Are you assuming responsibility? Or are you just simply saying, man, it's a tough market. You know, I can't get people to decide to list with me. And I can't get those buyers to make a better offer on the limited inventory. I can't help it that I go out and make an offer on a home and there are 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 offers on a home. I had an agent tell me just about a month ago, they put a home on the market for $180,000 on Friday. By Sunday night, guess how many offers they had on the home? 62 or 3. Who said that?
The one that knows right here.
Okay, who was it? You. Yes. Think about that. Is that challenging? Come on, is that challenging?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So what's the solution? Well, you can wait for the market to improve where there isn't as much competition, there's more inventory, right? Or you can improve the market yourself, okay? You've heard me say this before, it's called the Walmart what? Principle. Somebody's been listening. I call it the Walmart principle. The Walmart principle is what? What is it? Explain it. You got the buzzword down, now explain the concept.
I've answered way too many times. People that can answer that one.
Yeah, all of a sudden he said, I'm not responsible. That's not my responsibility. Okay, the Walmart principle. Who's the number one retailer, brick and mortar in the world? Walmart. Why is that?
Because they're everywhere.
Okay, they're everywhere, but they're not everywhere because they're everywhere. They're everywhere because of a principle. What is that principle?
They cater to the masses.
They cater to the masses. In other words, anything that you want, generally speaking, what?
They have it.
They got it. Any of you fish? Any of you fish? Any of you bought a fishing license at Walmart before?
Yes.
Any of you eat fish? Any of you eat fish? Any of you ever bought fish at Walmart? Any of you ever have a pet fish or ever had a pet fish? Ever bought a pet fish at Walmart? They get whatever type of fish you want, dead or in the future or right now living, you can get it where?
Walmart.
You can get a Walmart. See, the Walmart principle says this, it's like the movie Field of Dreams, if you have it, people will, they will come, right? You build a ball field, they would come, right? Well, the idea is in real estate that if you have the inventory, people will what? See, if you're focused right now on the challenge of the market, which is low inventory, meaning you're waiting for the market to change rather than you going out and getting your own inventory, creating it and putting it on your shelves, you're going to die on the vine in this market. Experts are saying that this market with low inventory, it's going to persist for the foreseeable future. It's not changing anytime soon. Because they cannot build homes as fast as the population grew over the last nearly decade when homes were not being built. So you've got all that pent-up demand plus the normal progression of people just, we do it really well here in Utah. What do we do? It's to be fruitful and multiply, right? We got that multiply thing down. We are experts at it. So you've got this natural, it's true, nothing wrong with it. Catholics got it figured out, Mormons got it figured out. But you got that, is this an awkward moment? I'm okay with it, it's natural, right? But you got the growth of the population through procreation, plus just simply the fact that we had pent-up demand because nobody was in the mood to build or buy, and so therefore homes were not being built. Families were doubling up. Generations were living in the same home. And now psychologically, those buyers have changed. Financially, their circumstances have changed. And people are ready to do what again? Yeah, and so demand has outstripped what? Supply. You can't wait for the supply to get better and expect that your business is going to improve. You have to go out and create the opportunities. So my question for you is philosophically, fundamentally, do you believe that there are listings out there to be had that aren't currently on the market?
Yes.
Okay. Are your actions demonstrating that? Are you every day actually going out and finding those listings? Because I guarantee you, as we speak right now, scores, 20, 30, 40, 50 homes are being listed. They will be put on the market today. Are you putting yourself in a situation where you're finding those opportunities and making it your inventory rather than you being the person who waits for it to be put on the market and then you go out there and compete and have to make an offer amongst 62? Which life would you prefer to have? Where you're selling the product, it's yours, where you got all those people competing to sell your product, or you're one of 62 competing? Which one would you like? The first or the second? First. Okay. My question for you is that the way you're operating your business? Do you believe fundamentally that I can improve it and therefore you're acting on a daily basis to make that happen? Are you in control or out of control? See, the in control people, I can tell you who those people are consistently in life. No matter what they do, they're the what?
Victors.
They're the victors. The people who wait, who are out of control, it's not my responsibility. I can't control the market, interest rates, inventory, what the competition does. I can't determine whether a buyer or seller is going to want to buy or sell. I just have to wait. Those people are the what?
Victims.
That's exactly right. They're the victims. Who are you? Do you look at yourself and say, I'm a victim?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay, you and I are going to sit down. We'll work on that.
Great.
after,
Is that all it's
okay?
gonna take for us?
That's it. Just a conversation. It's, you know what they call it? I apologize here, but it's called a good old-fashioned ass kicking. You'll get that after we're
got
done.
the bell.
Okay? Yeah. Mr. Bemis, good to see you. Okay. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what I want to do is, if who's decided they're just going to wait for the market to change? Okay, your project, we're going to work on you. That's okay. Okay. How many have decided that they're going to go out and get it? Okay. At least in word. Okay. Because it's not just enough to say that we're going to do it. We have to do what?
Act on it.
Okay, we have to take action. So you've got a choice. Are you going to commit to two things? One, taking responsibility, right? And then taking action that's necessary to get the results that you want. So how do we do that? Well, number one, we have to agree that we're first of all going to do what? If you're going to create the opportunity, you're going to create your own inventory, what do you have to do? Say it. Say it. It's all right. We would expect the leadership to know that. If you don't, we need to sit down after Colby and I sit down. Okay? But we do. We have to agree that we got to do what? You got to prospect. You have to prospect. And if you're not willing to commit to do that, then I can tell you, you'll just find yourself in that other group out of control and being a victim. So the first step is you have to commit to the idea of being willing to prospect, to talk to people. Because as much as you think that you're in the business of helping people buy and sell real estate, you're not. You're in the business of communicating with people and persuading them to choose you versus the competition, to choose you to list their home with you versus the competition, because they will be listing. The question is, will they be listing with you or the competition? So we have to commit, number one, that we're going to prospect, but then number two, what?
Think outside the box.
Okay, yes, it's not the answer I'm looking for. It doesn't mean it's wrong, because I have a schedule. We got to stay on track. I'm not going to ask you to explain it. Looking for a different answer. We got to commit to prospecting, but then what? Okay, yes, yes, you got to do it consistently, but I'm going to assume that. We're going to prospect. It's like saying that I want to lose 60 pounds, and I go to the gym once, and then I come back to you a month later and say, I'm not losing any weight, and you ask me, well, how's the workout? How are the workouts going? And I say, workouts? No workout. I went once, and you look at me like, what the hell are you thinking? You got to go more than once, right? So you got to do it what? Exactly, consistently, but that's not the issue.
It's an appointment.
Okay, yeah, that's yes, but okay, we've got a prospect, but what do? Let me ask you. Does it matter how you do things?
Yes.
It does, doesn't
Yeah.
it? If you don't do this well, is that going to affect your performance?
Oh, yeah. Present.
Okay. How committed are you to the idea of improving your skills of doing your job of communicating with people? That's a very interesting question. There are some of you who understand intellectually, conceptually, that you should be prospecting. I get that. We all can rationalize that and understand that. But how many of you practically work on the skill of actually prospecting? I don't mean prospecting and therefore as a result of prospecting I get better just by trial and fire, right? I get in there and I figure it out as I do it. But rather setting aside the time to figure out how to actually get better at my job of communicating with other human beings.
Reading.
Okay, I was just going to ask that question, so pause for a second, because yes, that's what I'm going to ask. How many of you in the last 30 days have picked up a book about communication to learn how to communicate to a higher level with another human being, to persuade them, to
Does
inspire
audio-
them, to get them to change their perspective? What's that?
Does audio count?
Of course it does.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
I can't read it, so.
What's that?
Just pick it up.
No, you know what I mean. Smart Alex.
I use the library.
Again, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but I am trying to call you out, because what I want to do is take these things that you understand on a subconscious level and raise them to a conscious level and say to yourself, hello,
Ouch.
I know these things, yes, ouch, and I'm not doing them. Why am I not doing them? Because I know rationally that if I continue to do it the way that I'm doing it, I'll get nothing better than I currently. And how many of you want just exactly what you have currently? No room for improvement, you're satisfied. Exactly. So therefore we have to commit to the idea of what? Getting better, of actually improving the process that we engage in. So most of you have seen what I'm going to cover here today. Isn't that exciting?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Anybody want a refund on their ticket price so far?
Yes.
Sorry, there are no refunds. You didn't read that in the small print? Yeah, there are no refunds.
That was in the
But
details.
do you know one of the things I've struggled with over the last 8 years? Say, John, what have you struggled with over the last 8 years? Ziegler said many years ago, he said, as a professional speaker, one of the things that you should do is, instead of changing your message, just change your audience. That's a lot easier. Right? I don't have the ability to do that. You're my audience. You've been my audience for going on what, 5 years now? 5 years now. For whatever reason, he's hanging around, right? How many times have I shared a message that is completely different, never heard it before? It's like, I didn't know that.
No.
Now, no, right. I keep saying the same thing, but you know why? Say, John, why? Thank you. Do you know what that's called, right there?
Communication.
Participation.
Oh,
Yeah,
participation.
thank you. And communication. But the answer to that question is why is because just because I said it once doesn't mean that you listened. Just because I said it twice doesn't mean that you heard me. And just because I said it 3 times doesn't mean that you're actually doing it. Doing it. So you could, and I'm not suggesting that anyone in here are doing it, because I suspect you're not. Nobody's complaining that I'm sharing the same message, right? You say, right.
Right.
But everybody wants something new, but they're not doing the old, the basic fundamental stuff. And my attitude is this: until we figure out how to do the fundamental stuff consistently that we know that we absolutely have to do, why would we ever focus on the next stage? Anybody familiar with martial arts? Anybody ever do taekwondo, karate, anything like that? No? You have? Okay, so explain that process. Describe the process.
Well, you always start at the bottom. And you,
Right.
well, in martial arts, a lot of they teach you is more mental than
Yep.
physical. And how to explain it? You start at the bottom and you
Okay.
learn certain little fundamental skills,
Discipline.
very movements, and then you graduate and you move up and you learn another set of skills, and then you
Okay.
incorporate all the skills.
Right?
I don't know.
Well, no, you're on track. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a good start to the conversation. I
I
like it.
believe Bruce Lee said it best. He said, "I don't fear the man who's practiced 1,000 kicks once.
Ah, that's a
I
good
fear
one.
the man that's practiced
Kick.
the one kick 1,000 times."
Did you hear what he said? Say it again, because that's really important. Digest what he just said.
Bruce Lee said that he does not fear the man that's practiced 1,000 kicks once. He fears the man that's practiced the same kick 1,000 times.
Right. See, the thing with martial arts is, and that encapsulates it. In martial arts, they require that you do the basic fundamental things over and 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 over again. If you've never watched it, I know he's, just from a standpoint of an actor, he's horrible. If he were in the room, I wouldn't say that because he's big and he's mean. But Steven Seagal, anybody know that name, right?
Yeah.
You know his name for a reason, not because he's a great actor. Do you know why you know his name?
Because it's horrible.
Well, yeah. I like that one. No, do you know why you know his name? Do you know why he ended up in movies?
Because you can have that, that's right.
No, it's because he's an exceptional martial artist.
Yes.
And if you've never watched it, go on YouTube and watch Steven Seagal in a dojo. Have you watched it? Is it not phenomenal? It will give you the chills to watch this guy do what he does. And it's not a show, it's not an act, it's the real deal. Where he will, one guy, Steven Seagal, fight off 4, 5, 6 guys who are exceptional at what they do, and yet he can handle 4, 5, 6 of them coming at him at once. And it's not made up, it's the real deal. because he's done exactly what you just said Bruce Lee said. It's a guy who practiced one kick over and over and over and over and over again. We've heard, if you haven't, if you've not been to Mike Ferry before, he talked about the idea, you have to get used to the idea of being okay with repetitious what? Boredom. See, that's what being a professional really is. Doing those fundamental basic things. Remember this, Eric. It's the fundamental basic things that if you master those, that whatever it is that you want, you'll accomplish. Think about trying to build a house. How do they start a house? That's ground right there.
Foundation.
Okay? That's ground, there's the tree, there's your lot. How do they start? Describe it to me, basically.
First you need to dig in.
First, you need to dig. You have to create a what?
A hole.
You got to create a hole. Then what do they do?
Put a foundation.
Then they put in the footings, right? They put in the footings. Then what do they do? Yeah, they do the sub-rough plumbing in there. Then they cover that sub-rough plumbing up with what? With gravel, right? Do you see these steps here? Imagine this, that you just had a lot and you just started to what? Frame a house on top of that. How long would it last? How long would it last?
A couple of years until the next big storm.
Oh, probably not even that, right? Probably wouldn't even last a year, right? You have to follow a process. In other words, you have to build it on a great solid what? Foundation. And that's what they do. You got to build your business on a great solid foundation. And fundamentally that is your ability to communicate with other human beings, your commitment to that idea, and then improving those skills, a commitment to that every single day. The average NFL player, do you know how many minutes, those of you who know the answer, because I've asked this a ton over the years, the average NFL player, do you know how many minutes, do not, because I know you know it, the number of minutes that they will practice off the field, whether it's weightlifting, plays, video, all of that, the number of minutes that they will practice versus the amount of time that they spend on the field in a regulation game. Do you know the ratio?
A couple hundred maybe to 1.
200 to 1? Okay. Any other answers? 1,000? Now we get into numbers that are just not practical, right? But think about this. For every 1 minute of play time on the field, they practice for 40 minutes off the field. It's a 40 to 1 ratio. Are you practicing a 40 to 1 ratio? Your skills versus actually going out and doing your job? And the answer is what?
No.
No. No. Does it mean that you have to?
No.
No, you don't. But if you want to be really good, shouldn't you be practicing more? Yeah. Do you know why a Tom Cruise will get paid $25 million, just a check, $25 million, plus part of the gross proceeds on a film, anytime he does a film? Do you know why?
He's good.
Because he is highly practiced, he's exceptional. There are some actors and actresses who get paid maybe $2, $3, $4, $5 million for films that you know that are very, very successful films, and yet they only got paid that amount of money. The difference is the amount of practice and therefore the success that they realize as a result of those skills. Real estate is the only business, and we're going to get into a process here, and you guys are going to actually get very interactive here. I'm going to have you stand up and we're going to do some things. But real estate is the only business where we claim to be what?
Professionals.
Be professionals, and yet we don't get paid at a professional rate. Not because it's not possible, but because we choose not to get paid at a professional rate. Because we choose not to behave like a what?
Professional.
Like a professional. You want to get paid like a professional? Start behaving like a professional. And that means, one, practicing the process that you have to engage in to go out and get the business. So you guys ready to do that?
Yes.
Say yes. Are some of you nervous?
No.
Okay, that's not
Very.
true. Some of you are very nervous. Right.
Nerves are good.
Go ahead and admit it. Say, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous.
A little bit.
Okay. You don't even know what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask each one of you to come up and present 5 minutes of presentation.
All right.
Yes. Anybody nervous now? Yeah. Come on, admit it. Yeah, everybody got nervous all of a sudden. No. What I want to do is I want to go through a process with you. Some of you have seen it, some of you haven't. And we're going to then have you work with
Hey,
each
Becky
other.
said that
What was
she wanted to
that?
be the first one up.
Who did?
Becky.
Becky. Oh. And she's, oh yeah.
She's out.
Okay. I want you to recognize something. Success is a what? If you're going to write this down, if you're going to take any notes, write this down. Success is it is a process, but ultimately it is a. What is it? Success is an outcome. Now I don't care what the outcome is, but Lou, how are you? Good to see you. Success is an outcome. I don't care what the outcome is, but for each and every one of you, you have a particular goal, and succeeding at that goal, achieving that goal, we would call that success. It's going to be different for each one of you, but nevertheless, success is a what? But outcomes only come through a what?
Medium.
Yeah, a medium or a process. If you can identify a process that is duplicable, that allows for predictability and duplication of outcome, would you like that? You're business owners. Let me ask you,
Yes.
if you had the opportunity to own Bob and Mary Joe's Dairy Ice Queen joint, greasy spoon, versus McDonald's, which one would you own?
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Because it's a proven process.
It's a proven process. You know that if you own one of those, it's going to be what?
Profitable.
It's going to be profitable, it's going to be successful, right? The reason for that is that they have a process that they follow. Well, the same is true in real estate. There is a process. You just simply have to recognize it and agree, commit to following it. So if we're talking about our job primarily is to do what with people? Is to communicate. Are there patterns in communication that we could recognize and therefore follow to get better outcomes or results?
Yes.
That is the answer. Yes, thank you for answering for everybody. Appreciate that. All right. So whether we're prospecting on the phone or we're knocking on doors, the first step in the process of communicating with another person is to do what? Fundamentally. Okay. Bentley, you said something that's interesting. We want to accomplish two things. I'm going to write this off to the side. In order to make progress with somebody in a conversation, we have to, say it again, Brenda Lee.
Build rapport.
We have to build rapport, and because it's a business conversation, we have to offer what? Value. Those are some of the goals that we have. We've got to create that in the conversation. If we don't, it won't work. But in order to do that, what do we have to do? What's the fundamental building block of rapport and value in any conversation? Fundamental. Say it.
Questions.
Questions. You have to ask questions. Now that you've heard that answer, how many of you say, duh, that's obvious, right? Raise your hands if you're in the room, because it is. It's come on. It's called participation. Raise your hands. I can see you who are not doing it. I'm here. Okay. It's obvious, right? But it's not so obvious, because I asked the question and very few of you actually gave out the answer. If you were confident in the answer, you would blurt out the answer. I know, I've done this enough. Which tells me that you don't have it burned into your conscious mind enough to the point that you're actually doing it consistently in your business. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Is that a fair statement? I think it is. So the process of communication starts with the what?
Question.
I thought we had concluded that on the answer here. Let me ask it again. The process of great communication starts with a what?
Question.
Thank you very much. I like that. It's called participation. Look, if you guys don't respond with great confidence, you know what it does to me? No, seriously, you know what it does to me when you guys don't participate? Do you know what it does? Have you ever been in a presentation with a client where you think you're giving a great presentation and they just sit there and they don't respond?
Yes.
What do you think about your presentation?
That is values.
That it's not, yeah, you're not getting your message across, and it's not a very good what?
Message.
Let me tell you something. This is a very good presentation, so start participating. Jeez, holy cow. So we ask questions, right? Okay, what's the question you ask? If we're prospecting, what is the question you ask?
Do you want to sell your home?
I always like, okay, I like it. Say it.
Do you want to sell your home?
Okay, what kind of question do we call that? I call it a closing question. Okay? What we need to start with is some sort of a closing question. Would you like to sell your home? Would you like to meet, to sit down and talk about buying a home or selling a home? Right? Would you please sign the, those are all what questions? Because what we're doing is we're asking a question to call people to what? To action. These are questions that call people to action. Some of you I know you're challenged with the idea of asking right out of the gate a closing question. Well, but I haven't built any, and I haven't offered any. And how can I presume to ask the question, would you like to put your home on the market? Would you please sign the, I've got to do more of this. I've got to build more rapport and value. What I would say is take action before you're ready. Gauge where you are. What if you ask the question of a seller, right? You picked up the phone, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, is this Mr. Gamboa?
Yes, who's this?
Yeah, Mr. Gamboa, this is John Sine. I'm a real estate broker in the area. I noticed that your home expired on my computer as an expired listing. I'm calling to find out when you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home.
Well, I thought I did, but he didn't sell.
Ouch! I'm sorry to hear that. Let me ask you a question. What do you think prevented your home from selling? Now pause for a second. My first question was what?
Closing question.
It was a closing question. How many of you are dancing around the issue, hoping to build rapport and value, and then never getting to the question of would you like to actually talk to me about putting your home on the market and getting it sold? I don't need a show of hands. But philosophically, my idea is I want to get from him right out of the gate where he is. I want to gauge his attitude about whether he's willing to talk to another agent. He said something that was interesting. He didn't say, I'm not interested. He didn't say, we've decided to stay in our home. What did he say? Yeah, he didn't get it done. To me, that is great what? News. It's great news. Because what it says to me is that he still is interested in talking about getting his home sold. He just needs to find the right what?
Agent.
He needs to find the right agent, and he just did. He just doesn't know it yet. Okay, so we ask questions, specifically closing questions. Normally what will happen, Jonah, when I ask you a closing question and say, when are you planning on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home, what will people say? I'm not what? I'm not selling, I'm not interested, we're not going to what? In other words, they have a choice. They can either say yes or what?
No.
Or no to the question, whatever it is. Okay? Whatever the closing question is. They either will say yes or no. In most cases, in your prospecting conversations, what do people say? No. Okay? There were 4 of you who came up with that answer. How about the rest of you?
They're the only ones.
What do they say? They're the only ones who what?
They only
They're
say yes.
prospecting.
They're prospecting. That's the problem. Thank you, Jason. No. What do they normally say? When you're on the phone prospecting, you knock on the door, what do they mostly say? That they're not what?
Interested.
It's
I'm
no.
not interested.
No.
I'm not interested. It's no. It's no, right? So let me just share with you fundamentally what should be the way you process this, okay? Because remember, this is about communication. And a huge part of communication is the belief and confidence that you have in what it is that you're presenting. You would not tolerate me standing up here and not being confident in what I'm saying. Do you, at any moment at this point, since I started talking how long ago? 40 minutes ago? Have you ever sensed that I've been uncertain or lack confidence in what I'm saying? Say it.
No.
Of course not. You wouldn't tolerate that, and you shouldn't. The challenge is that when most people, when we prospect and they say no, how do you respond? Does it knock you off balance? Like, holy crap, I didn't expect that. Are you kidding me? Of course you did. That's why you're afraid to prospect in the first place. Am I right? Say yes, you're right. You're right. Right. So the issue isn't are they going to say no, it's you acknowledging that they're going to say no in most cases. But this is what I want you to remember, because remember, this is a mental, I won't call it a game because that trivializes it. This is a mental issue, okay? I expect that they're going to say yes. When I pick up the phone or I knock on the door or when I ask somebody to sign a contract, the only reason, Cheryl, the only reason that I ask the question for them to take that action is why? Because I what? Because I expect that they're going to follow through on that that's what they're going to do. Otherwise, why would I what? Ask. Why would I ask? Why would you ask? If I know that, but look, men, how many of you are married? Were you a little nervous when you were asked your wife to marry you? Admit it. Were you not? Jonah's saying, no, she was begging me. I'm going to tell you this and that. You were nervous about it. Why? Because there was a chance that she was going to say right. She was going to say no. And you did everything you could to build up you had no flaws, you had no warts. Every hair was in place, right? You had all the moves, right? You created the right situation, the right opportunities. When you asked the question, you knew with absolute certainty she was going to say what? She was going to say, otherwise, you weren't going to ask the question, right? You wouldn't do it. We have to have the expectation that people are going to say yes. But when they don't, in most cases, what do they say? They say, no, we're not what? We're not surprised. I know this isn't revolutionary. I know this isn't rocket surgery. Yes, I said rocket surgery. I know it's not, but this is very important for you to remember. If you're prospecting and people say no to you and you're surprised by that, meaning you let it affect you mentally and emotionally, what will you do? If you let it affect you negatively, mentally and emotionally, what will you do at that point? You will shut down. You'll shut down in that conversation right there. And what will you do? Because you've done it before. We all have. I've done it. What do? You say, Yeah, thank you for your time. I'm sorry to bother you. Yeah, that's what you did, you bothered me. Yeah. At that point you did, because that's what you said. It's like, yeah, don't call me again, stop bothering me. If you let this thing affect you mentally and emotionally in a negative way, you're not going to engage in the process. None of you are that crazy except for Colby. Right? Just make sure you're paying attention.
Amen to that.
Okay? So therefore, my philosophy is this. When I pick up the phone and I call Jonah Gamboa and I ask him when he plans on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling his home, I expect that he is going to say what?
Yes.
And when he doesn't and he says, no, we've decided we're not going to list the home right now, we're going to wait until spring or summer, I'm not what?
Surprise.
Therefore, it enables me to go to the next what?
Question.
The next step. Now, what is the next step? Because it's not the next question. That's a hint. Thank you. Explain that.
Repeat what they said and say, if I were you, I'd feel the exact same way.
Okay? So, Dr. Haddock, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home?
I don't.
You don't. You know what? If I were you, I would feel exactly the same way too. That was called a what? It's called a repeat and affirm. He said no, so what did I say back to him? No, you don't, right? And then what did I say?
You validated.
Okay. Stop flipping me off, Colby.
Sorry. That was a total accident.
People in the audience are wondering, what is he talking about? He flipped me off. I'm calling him out. That way he doesn't continue to do it to me. It distracts me. Okay, so who wants to try the repeat and affirm? No, I'm not calling on you. Yes, in the back, stand up. Okay. Now walk forward.
I'm not an agent.
That's okay.
That's
You're
okay.
no, you're a
So
volunteer.
that'll be like,
You're-
anyone can do this,
You're a
right?
volunteer. It's right. Yeah, yeah. If you can do it, anyone can,
Okay.
right? No, that's not fair. Okay.
Okay.
So it's the repeat and affirm. You're going to close me. So the question is, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home? Right. And what am I going to say? I'm going to say we're not interested in doing that right now. We're not going to listen with an agent. Right. And then you're going to repeat and affirm. You're going to repeat what I said, and then you're going to affirm. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So ask me the question.
Knock, knock. Oh.
Yeah,
When are you
that's what
looking for the right agent?
For the job
Okay,
of
for
selling
the
your
job
home.
of selling your home.
You know, I appreciate you asking, but we've decided we're just not going to list with an agent right now.
Oh, you're not interested in listing with an agent?
That's
right
right.
now? I
Mhm.
totally understand, and I would feel the same way.
Perfect. High five.
Yes.
She made it look easy, right? You always say, okay, John, is that it? Yeah, that's it. It's a proven process. I know it's simple, but success usually is. It's the simple stuff that we tend not to do on a daily basis that if we did it, it would be all the difference. There are no magic answers. There's no silver bullet. It's basic communication. What she did for me there was very important, and you said it. I'm circling back around to you because you said it just a little too soon, but you said it. Yes. She validated me. You imagine this. You're minding your own business at your home, and out of the blue, some stranger knocks on your door or calls you on the phone when you're doing whatever it is you're doing. The last thing you want is to be interrupted by a what? Admit it, because that's what you are. Say it. A salesperson, right? They pick up the phone and they call you or they knock on your door and they ask you a closing question. Now, you don't look at it that way, a closing question. The average person doesn't, but they ask this annoying question, right, interrupting me. And I give the answer, we're not interested in listing with an agent. And then you begin the process of what? Telling me all the reasons what?
That I'm wrong.
Say it.
Why they should list with you.
Why you should list with me. Is she prepared to hear that message at that point? No. No. I got the closing question out of the way so I could gauge where she was. She got the closing question out of the way there to gauge where I was. She found out where I was. We weren't going to what? List with an agent. Now she knows. The last thing she wants to do is make me feel what? See, the repeat and affirm is a way to communicate to someone that they are okay having their opinion. Does it mean they're right? This is important. Does it mean they're right?
No.
No. But does it mean that you don't make them feel wrong? And the answer is yes. You don't make them feel wrong. Because if you make a complete stranger feel wrong, are they going to follow your lead? No. They're going to tell you to hit the road, Jack or Jane. They're not going to want to have the conversation because the last thing that we want to do is to be made to be felt wrong at the hands or the voice of a what? stranger. So therefore, we repeat and we affirm. The repeat and affirm is simply repeat something that they said, right? Take some of their words, choose some of their words, repeat them back to them, and then use the phrase, you know what, if I were you, I would, I'd feel the same way too, or I would do the same thing. It's okay to do that. Now, that's a longer affirm. You know, if I were you, I would do or feel the same way too. But you could also just simply use a power word. Fantastic, great, awesome, I get it. If you aren't taking notes, I would write those down. Because oftentimes we forget what to say for the affirmation. We don't know what to do. And we just simply, let me share with you what normally happens here. We will repeat what they say, and then you know what we most typically will do? Guess what we'll do? Say it.
Ask the next question.
Ask the next question. So therefore, you forgot to do what the repeat and affirm is all about. Do you think the repeat and affirm is just repeating what they say? Did you think they like to hear what they said? Do they know what they said?
Yes.
But they want to know that you heard what they said and that you are what?
Listening.
And what?
Okay.
Okay with that. And if you don't repeat it and then affirm it, you've blown the whole thing. And most will just simply go to the next question to set up the situation where they become even more what? Annoyed and frustrated. Okay? So don't forget the repeat and affirm. Now we repeat and affirm, and then what's the next step? Somebody said it up here. Say it, Charles. Ask the next question. Now, philosophically, fundamentally, what questions or question and how many? What question or questions? How many? What type of questions would we ask? Well, it's simple. You don't have to make up the questions. Guess where you can find them?
Scripts.
Yeah. Stop trying to invent the questions you're going to ask and just simply follow the script because they're right here. And a lot of you will say, well, but those, I'm not comfortable with those words. You know why you're not comfortable with them? How many of you were comfortable the first time you were thrown into a swimming pool? That's why you were thrown into it, because you weren't comfortable with it. You were going to get into it, so somebody had to throw you in, so you got in. But now, how many of you are uncomfortable getting into the pool? Okay, I imagine we all have our beach potties. Now, how many of you feel comfortable getting in the pool? Because I don't feel comfortable getting in the pool. But when you're familiar with the process, you understand it, it's not uncomfortable, right? Well, these are proven scripts right here. This is a process that works. And if people just simply understand them and commit to them, you don't need to invent your own questions. These are the questions. Do you know where these questions came from? Because that's what the script is. It's just a series of questions. Do you know where they came from? Do you think they came from some person who thought maybe if you asked it this way, in this order, that it might work? Don't know. We'll try it and see. Say no.
No.
Where do you think it came from?
Proven.
Things that work.
Yes, but from literally, and I'm not making this up, literally
Trial and error.
thousands of agents over decades who are top producers who make millions of dollars a year. Did you hear what I said? Millions of dollars a year asking these questions. And I watch agents all the time trying to invent their own question because somehow they got it figured out more than those people. Any of you make more than $1 million a year in the business? So stop trying to reinvent the scripts. Just stick to them. Stop complicate. This business is really simple if you'll make it simple. We complicate it. We don't need to invent our new questions. Just stick to the script. So what questions do we ask? I just set you up here. I'm helping you. Yeah, the questions that are in the script. And how many questions do we ask? Some of you have seen this. It is not a brassiere. Okay, I'll work on that one. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, what is it? It's the infinity symbol,
Infinity.
right? It's the infinity symbol. Somebody said it back here. You ask what? How many? You said as many until they what?
Say yes.
Until they say yes. So the rule, Brendley, is this, right? We ask one question, two questions, three questions, and then what's the next step?
Close.
We ask a closing question. That's the step here. We ask three questions, and then step number 5 is we ask a closing question, or we simply close them. Okay? So really we have 3 questions and then we close them. That's the process. If they say no, which most cases they will what? They will say what? They'll say no. What do? We ask a question, a question, a question, and then we go back to what? The close again, right? And Brenda Lee is right. You'll gauge this. You've seen it before. You've been in these conversations where you'll ask the question, everything's going great, and they say no, so you ask some more questions. Things are going great. They say kind of no. You ask some more questions. Oh, now I'm starting to understand this more. I'm feeling more comfortable. Yeah, I think I could. Okay, well, maybe I need to ask another 1 question, 2 questions, and then you close them again, and they say what?
Yes.
Yes. But sometimes you'll ask question. At this point, they ain't having any of it, right? And so then you go back to asking more questions, and then they get even more what? Frustrated, right? So at that point, what do you do? Yeah, that happens, yeah. What do you do? I wouldn't call it giving up. I would say back away, right? Because are you in the business of pissing people off? No. That doesn't mean that you give up. It just means you recognize, okay, I'm not making progress here. I got to back away from this situation so that it becomes even more irritated with me, right? Give yourself an opportunity to recollect, maybe call them on another day rather than pissing them off.
Yeah.
Because if you push too
Timing
far,
is everything.
right, you'll piss them off, and then are you going to call them back if you pissed them off? You are not going to call them back if you piss them off. I know you won't. I will, but you won't. Okay? You got to call them back. Okay, so ask the next questions and then close them. If they say no, what do you do? How many of you have a shampoo bottle? Have you read the instructions on that? What does it say? Lather, rinse, and repeat. Well, that's really the next step, is to repeat that process, right? Now, if you get to a point where things are going well, they're not getting agitated, but you're not making progress with them, and they're still saying no, there's a what? What'd you say? There's a disconnect, yeah.
Or simply, they're just not motivated.
That could be it. And so what do we?
You got to read people. Sometimes people aren't motivated.
Right.
You got it right when you say sometimes you got to back off. Some people are just pissed off, having a really rough day. There's nothing you're going to say or do that's going to change that moment.
So maybe it's not the right what?
Timing.
Maybe it's not the right time. Which speaks to the importance of prospecting what? Consistently and doing what? Starts with it. Yeah, follow up. You got to follow up consistently. We have to make certain that in this process we recognize that this works, but not all the time. It's not fail-proof. Do you know why this business is difficult? Do you know why it's difficult?
Because it involves people.
Who said that? It's the second great answer. Because it involves people. That's why this is such a challenging business. If you were dealing with machines, it'd be a whole lot easier because they're a lot more what? Predictable. People are very unpredictable. So what we have to do is at least create some predictability in our approach so that we can maintain our what? Our sanity in the process and have something to hold on to that gives us predictability and some duplication of outcome. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is what I want you to do. Stand up. We're going to take about 5 minutes to do this. First of all, this is very important. When you prospect, where do you prospect? I don't need an answer. I want you to think about this. Where do you prospect? Do you think where you prospect affects your outcomes?
Yes.
Particularly when we're talking about on the phone? The answer is, of course, yes. If you find yourself, how many of you prospect alone in your office? Bad answer. Don't do that. It's difficult to maintain the level of energy that you need, and it's also difficult for people to give you feedback and encouragement, which we all need. Don't you need encouragement? Say yes.
Yes.
And your number one human need is what? Validation, love, acceptance. You're not going to get any of that. You expect to get that from your prospects on the phone? Good luck. Right? But if you're standing next to one of your coworkers, right, or next to a manager or broker, and you're prospecting, they're going to give you positive feedback and encouragement. You need that. Don't put yourself in a cave or a hole and prospect by yourself. The other thing that's exceptionally important in terms of our environment, why we have to pay attention to it, is because it affects the level of what? Energy. Most of you are used to operating at a level of energy. If the scale is 1 to 10, most of you are used to operating at about a 4 or 5. That's your standard mode of operation, about a 4 or 5. And if I were to ask you to get to a 6 or a 7, you'd feel like you were a clown in a circus. You say, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, I would never behave this way. Well, that's because your default level of operation, your mode of operating, is down here. It feels uncomfortable. But does it mean that it's wrong? And the answer is what? Yes. No. It means that yes, exactly. Yes, it's wrong. Right? No, it means that you've got to be comfortable with increasing that baseline for yourself. Because let me prove something to you here. We are energy. That's all we are. We're carbon. You are carbon-based. You are nothing more than carbon. At the end of the day, from start to finish, your body is nothing but carbon. We can talk about the soul and the spirit and all that. That's set that aside. I'm talking about your physical body. All that is carbon, which is what? What is coal? Coal is nothing but what? Carbon. And you burn it, and you get what? Energy. That's all you are. And as a living, breathing human being that is nothing but energy, do you think you're attracted to energy or repelled by it? You're attracted to it. It's the reason you like people who are charismatic. You like to be around people. Say that. Say it.
High enthusiasm.
High enthusiasm. You like to be around people who are enthusiastic. Why? Because it makes you feel what?
Energized.
Energized. Better. Oh, man, I feel better when I'm around that person, right? You have to be that person. If you're not going to get the responses that you need. So one of the things that you have to do is the space that you're in, the environment that you're in, is you own that space. Remember you talked about the bubble? Most people have a bubble that's about, I would say, about 18 inches outside of them circumference, just around them. That's their bubble. That's where they feel comfortable. Can you, in unison, I want you to say pathetic. 1, 2, 3.
Pathetic.
That's what most people do, and they live an average life. You have to own more space than that. In order to be energetic, enthusiastic, to inspire and motivate other people, you've got to occupy more space. So I want you to just practice this very quickly, because I had one of my mentors, coaches, several years ago, it's been 5, 6 years ago, do this with me. He said, if you're going to get better at public speaking, of inspiring and motivating people, you have to own more space, because the amount of space that you're occupying right now is perfect for a coffin. You fit very well in that, okay? So I want you to imagine that the space that you occupy is that little bubble around you. And on the count of 3, that's your space. That's it. You don't own any more than that. Just that 12 to 18 inches away from you, all the way around, that's your space. On the count of 3, I want you to say your name. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Actually, much better than I've had most crowds do. Okay? A little more energetic, which is interesting. Now I want you to look at the front of the room and see the corners. Okay? And then see the corners in the back. I want you to see the walls. Do you see the size of this space? Each one of you owns this space individually. That is your space. Paul, it's your space. It's not Jason's, it's yours. Okay? On the count of 3, I want you to demonstrate that this is your space. And say your name. 1, 2, 3. Yes! I didn't tell you to increase the volume. You did that automatically. Why is that? Because you own more what? Space. In other words, you found within you the energy. It was there. It's always there. You've just decided to regulate it. I'm not going to put that much out there. If I do that, do you know why? Then peer pressure. You've heard that before, right? In peer pressure situations, what are teenagers trying to do? They're trying to fit in. Why? Because they don't want to stand out. But what do leaders do? Do they fit in or do they stand out?
They stand out.
You're going to have to start standing out, because if you don't, you'll never be noticed. And if you're in this business, you're not